August 24th, 1942, 14,000 feet east of Guadalcanal. The roar of the two Pratt & Whitney R-1830 Twin Wasps is a deafening, monotonous drone. Inside the PBY-5A Catalina, Lieutenant J.G. Stan Ski Kowalski is fighting fatigue, his eyes aching from scanning the endless, shimmering blue of the Pacific. This is Dumbo Patrol. Fly straight-line search patterns, stay high, and pray you find the downed TBF Avenger pilot from the Saratoga before the Sharks do. His aircraft, P-4, is a lifeline, but it is not a warrior. It's a flying bathtub, a Dumbo. With a top speed of 170 miles per hour and the aerodynamic profile of a school bus, it's the slowest combat aircraft in the theater. A voice crackles over the intercom, sharp with panic. It's the port blister gunner. "Skipper, bandits, 6 o'clock high, 3, no, 4 of them." Kowalski's stomach drops. He doesn't need to ask. He knows. Zeros. He slams the yokes forward, pitching the heavy PBY into a desperate dive. Full power, drop to the deck, call the destroyer. The math is simple. His PBY is an anvil. The A6M20s are hammers. They dive at over 300 miles per hour, their 7.7mm guns sparkling, their 20mm cannons winking. The first pass is devastating. The thump, thump, thump of cannon shells walking up the PBY's broad, fabric-covered wing is sickening. The radio operator screams, "Radio's hit! I'm hit! Maneuver, damn it!" Kowalski yells, ruddering the clumsy boat left and right, trying to give his gunners, 1 in the nose turret, 2 in the waist blisters, 1 in the ventral tunnel, a shot. The 50 caliber machine guns bark back, a slow, heavy thump, thump, thump compared to the Zeros' high-pitched rat-a-tat. But the Zeros are toying with them. They climb, stall turn, and dive again, setting the PBY's starboard engine on fire. Black smoke pours into the cockpit. The plane shudders, threatening to stall. "Mayday, mayday!" the co-pilot yells into a dead microphone. The Japanese pilots are so close Kowalski can see them laughing, gesturing as they peel off for another run. The flying bathtub is a joke, an easy kill. Kowalski aims for a low-lying squall line, their only chance. He wrestles the dying P-boat into the gray sanctuary of the cloud, trailing smoke and hydraulic fluid. They escape. Just. They will ditch 30 miles from Henderson Field, lucky to be alive. The lesson is seared into the U.S. Navy. In daylight, the PBY Catalina is not a weapon. It is bait. October 30th, 1942, 02:15 hours. Henderson Field, Guadalcanal. The mud is a living thing. It sucks at the boots of the ground crews as they muscle 500-pound bombs under the wing of a PBY-5. This isn't a rescue plane. Not tonight. The air is thick, hot, and smells of rotting jungle, diesel fumes, and human fear. The nightly Japanese bombardment, washing Machine Charlie in his float plane, followed by the heavy shells from Imperial Japanese Navy destroyers, has just subsided. This is the problem. The Tokyo Express. Every night, like clockwork, Admiral Tanaka's destroyers and fast transports dash down the slot, the narrow strait between the Solomon Islands. They drop off troops, ammunition, and rice, then vanish before the first SBD Dauntless can launch at dawn. They are bleeding Henderson Field dry, one nocturnal cut at a time. In a makeshift operations hut, Lieutenant Commander John Big John Harlan of Squadron VP-12 stares at the operations board. His PBYs are sitting ducks by day. But at night, they are the only aircraft he has with the legs to hunt. A PBY can loiter for 20 hours. It can carry 4 500-pound bombs or 2 Mark 13 torpedoes. And, most critically, it carries something the Zeros don't. The new, crude, but functional ASV, air-to-surface vessel, radar. A plan, born of desperation, has been authorized. P-4, the same aircraft Kowalski ditched, has been salvaged, patched, and transformed. The ground crews, using whatever they could find, have painted the entire aircraft. It is no longer sea blue or gray. It is a streaky, hideous, non-reflective, matte black. They've stripped out the co-pilot's armor plating. They've removed the navigation dome. Anything non-essential is gone, traded for more fuel and more bombs. Lieutenant Ski Kowalski, back on flight status, climbs into the cockpit. The plane feels different. It's no longer a Dumbo. It's a Predator. Radar's warm, Skipper, the radio operator reports. His station is now a claustrophobic nest of humming electronics. The glowing green eye of the radar scope its centerpiece. Start engines, Kowalski orders. The two twin wasps bark to life, their exhaust glowing a dull cherry red in the darkness. The plane, heavy with fuel and ordnance, lumbers down the dark steel-matted runway. It is not a search and rescue mission. It is an ambush. They are the first. They are the experiment. They are the Black Cats. October 31st, 1942. 03 hours. Over the slot, Solomon Islands. Lieutenant Stan Ski Kowalski is flying by instruments alone. His world is the faint green glow of the altimeter and the artificial horizon. Outside the cockpit, there is nothing. No moon, no stars. Just a suffocating blackness that presses against the Perspex windscreen. The matte black PBY is a ghost, 800 feet above the unseen water. Skipper, a voice crackles in his headset. The radio operator, his voice tight with tension. Contact, bearing 015, range 8 miles. Looks like 3 targets, moving fast. This is it. The ASV radar, a box of wires and tubes that barely works, has found them. The Tokyo Express. Confirm, Kowalski says, his knuckles white on the yoke. Bombardier. To the nose turret. Blister gunners, stand by. We're going in. He eases the PBY into a shallow turn, aligning with the bearing. The engines are throttled back to a deep, guttural thrum just above stalling speed. They are deliberately flying low and slow, trying to mimic the sound of a lone washing machine Charlie float plane on a nuisance raid. Deception is their only armor. Range, 5 miles closing. Kowalski descends, 700 feet, 600 feet. The humid air buffets the big aircraft. He can smell the salt of the sea spray, even this high up. Range, 2 miles, steady. All right, John, Kowalski says to his bombardier. Flares, now. A thump as the parachute flare ejects from the ventral hatch. A moment later, an intense magnesium-white sun ignites 1,000 feet above the Japanese ships. The ocean flashes into existence. Below them, caught in the ghostly white light, are 3 Imperial Japanese Navy destroyers, carving brilliant white wakes in the black water. They are packed with troops, their decks piled high with crates. Kowalski's voice is iron. I have the targets. I'm attacking the lead destroyer. He shoves the throttles forward. The 2 Wasps roar to full power. The flying bathtub shudders as it dives. On the destroyer's bridges, there is pure panic. They were expecting a float plane, not a massive twin-engine bomber diving out of the dark. Their searchlights snap on, wildly sweeping the sky. Tracers, green, white, and red, begin to claw at the night. Bombardier, your target, your target. Steady, steady. The bombardier chants into the intercom. The PBY is now at 400 feet, racing over the water. The thump, thump, thump of the 25mm anti-aircraft shells hitting the water around them is deafening. Bombs, away! 4 500-pound bombs release, arcing down. Kowalski hauls the PBY into a skidding, violent bank to starboard, dragging his wingtip just above the waves. He doesn't wait to see them hit. Get us out of here! Behind them, 2 massive columns of water erupt next to the lead destroyer. The third bomb is a direct hit, striking the destroyer aft of the stacks. A brilliant orange-white flash momentarily eclipses the flare, followed by a secondary explosion as ammunition cooks off. The Black Cat rips through the night, its 50 caliber blister guns spitting defiance at the tracers. They are low, fast, and vanishing back into the darkness that birthed them. They are no longer bait. They are the hunters. November 14th, 1942, 01:30 hours, near Shortland Harbor, Bougainville. On the bridge of the Japanese destroyer Kagero, Sub-Lieutenant Takeda strains his eyes against the oppressive humidity and darkness. His binoculars are useless. Every man on the bridge is rigid with tension. The air is dead, windless. The only sound is the shiss of their own bow wake as they steam at 20 knots, part of a convoy of supply barges. The Tokyo Express is no longer a high-speed dash. It is a crawl through a gauntlet of ghosts. For 2 weeks, it has been the same. The nights are no longer safe. The Americans who were blind and clumsy in the dark now see. A lookout on the starboard wing screams, "Hikoki! Kikoeru! Aircraft!" I hear it. Takeda hears it too. Not the high-pitched whine of a Zero or the roar of a G4M Betty. It is a low, irregular, offbeat thrum, thrum, thrum. A sound that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It's the sound of the Kuronami, the Black Wave, the Yoru no Neko, the Night Cat. Searchlights, standby 25mm, the captain roars. Too late, a blinding, white-hot star explodes directly above them, the parachute flare. It casts harsh, terrifying shadows across the decks. The Kagero and the barges around it are naked, illuminated like specimens on a glass slide. Then, the thrum becomes a full-throated roar. Diving from the heart of the darkness, a massive, matte black shadow with a 104-foot wingspan detaches itself from the night. It is impossibly big, impossibly close. The Japanese gunners, blinded by the flare, fire wildly, their green tracers lashing the empty sky where the flare hangs. The PBY is already past them, engines howling at full throttle, not 300 feet over the water. Takeda sees the dark shapes detach from the wings. Hard to port, hard to port. The Kagero heaves as the rudder bites, but the bombs are aimed at the barges. 2 500-pounders straddle a Daihatsu-class barge loaded with 150mm artillery pieces. The barge simply ceases to exist in a flash of yellow-white fire and splintered wood. The Black Cat doesn't circle. It doesn't stop to admire its work. It plunges back into the wall of night, its 50 caliber gunners hosing down the Kagero's bridge as a final, contemptuous gesture. Bullets spark off the steel, and Takeda throws himself to the deck. By the time the searchlights find the patch of sky, the thrum is already fading, leaving only the screams of the men in the water and the crackle of the burning barge. This is the new war. The Japanese High Command is furious. They are forced to add more escorts, to reroute convoys, to burn precious fuel. Their barges, the vital logistical link for their troops on Guadalcanal, are being systematically, almost casually, annihilated, and they are being killed by an aircraft they once laughed at. The flying bathtub has become a phantom, and it owns the dark. December 8th, 1942, 04:45 hours, in Dini Island, Santa Cruz Islands. The cockpit of P9 smells of stale sweat, spilled coffee, cordite, and hot electronics. Lieutenant J.G. Swede Larson, pilot for VP-11, rubs his eyes, his vision blurring. The green glow of the instrument panel is a hypnotic, sickly smear. They have been airborne for 11 hours. Tender beacon acquired, the radio operator reports, his voice a flat monotone of pure exhaustion. Bearing 180, 15 miles. Roger. Swede eases the yoke, a tiny correction. Let's take her home. Home is not an airfield. Home is not a carrier. Home is the USS Curtis, a seaplane tender anchored in the moonless, coral-ringed blackness of Graciosa Bay. This is the lair of the Black Cats, a floating, mobile, makeshift base hidden deep in enemy territory. Below, the water is an invisible, solid black. The only sign of life is a single, hooded, red-flashing AL-4 beacon on the tender's mast. This is their runway. Landing check, Swede murmurs. Fuel, good. Gear, up and locked. Flaps, 20. The co-pilot's voice is thick with sleep. This is the second most dangerous part of the night. The first was the target, a Japanese transport anchorage at Rakata Bay, where they dropped 2 torpedoes and dodged a mountain. Now, they must land a 16-ton flying boat in total darkness on a patch of water they cannot see, using only instruments and a single red light. Altimeter, 100 feet, the co-pilot calls out. Swede throttles back. The deep thrum-thrum of the wasps drops to a fluttering, whistling burble. He is flying on feel alone, his hand on the throttles, sensing the mush as the PBY settles. 50 feet, drifting, correct left, 40. He can smell the lagoon now, salt and mangrove. 20. He cuts the power. The PBY hangs in the air, stalling, and then whoosh. The hull connects with the water. It is not a gentle landing. It is a controlled crash. A massive wall of spray erupts, covering the windscreen. The plane is grabbed by the ocean, decelerating with bone-jarring violence, throwing the crew against their harnesses. The Bathtub is a boat again. Swede taxis for 10 minutes, following a small launch boat to the tender. As they cut the engines, the sudden, immense silence is broken only by the lapping of water and the distant cry of a jungle bird. They climb out onto the wing, stiff and sore, into the pre-dawn humidity. A motor launch takes them to the Curtis. By 05:30, they are in the debriefing room, sipping scalding hot black coffee, telling an intelligence officer where they saw the fires, how many ships, what the AA fire was like. By 06:00, as the first F-4F Wildcats from Henderson are warming up 300 miles away, Swede and his crew are collapsing into their bunks. The day war is just beginning. Their war is over. They are ghosts of the fleet, creatures of the night, sleeping as the sun rises, only to wake again at dusk. January 5th, 1943, 0240 hours, Vella La Vella, New Georgia Sound. The humidity is a physical weight, a hot, wet towel draped over the crew of P7. Lieutenant Hawk Hawkins, pilot for VP-12, has the throttles trimmed for trolling, 110 knots, 900 feet. The engines are desynchronized, creating that signature lumpy thrum-thrum, thrum designed to confuse Japanese sound locators. This is the grind. The glory of sinking destroyers has given way to the systematic, nightly extermination of the Japanese logistical centipede, the Daihatsu barge. Radar. Anything? Hawk mutters into the intercom, his voice gravelly from 14 hours of low-level vibration. Nothing but, "Island clutter, skipper," the operator replies. The green line on the ASV scope sweeps, painting the jagged coastlines. Wait, got a pip, faint, bearing 350, range 4 miles. He's hugging the coast, slow mover. This is the target, not a warship. A single 50-foot wooden-hulled barge, probably loaded with ammunition, rice, and a platoon of fresh troops trying to sneak from Vella La Vella to Kolombangara. "I see him," Hawk says, his eyes, now perfectly attuned to the night, catching the almost imperceptible V of a wake in the starlight. Going in, arm the nose turret, arm the blisters. No flares this time, guns only. The PBY descends, 400 feet, 200 feet. The salt spray mists the windscreen. The Japanese on the barge hear them now. They are not defenseless. A stream of bright green 13mm tracers suddenly leaps up from the darkness, searching for the thrumming sound. "Target at 12 o'clock, the nose gunner calls. "I'm on him." "Open fire." The night explodes. The PBY, once a lumbering victim, transforms into a strafing gunship. Two 50 caliber machine guns in the nose turret, plus another two 30 calibers in the waist blisters, all open up at once. The thump, thump, thump of the heavy guns is a deafening physical force inside the aircraft. Hawk holds the PBY steady, walking the streams of tracers, his own and the enemy's, across the water. He sees the 50 caliber rounds hit the barge. They don't just ping, they disintegrate it. Splinters the size of railway ties are blasted into the air. He sees dark shapes, men, flung into the water. A line of 13mm rounds pings off the PBY's metal hull, one puncturing the empty starboard float, but the barge's gun goes silent. "Cease fire," Hawk orders, banking the heavy plane. They circle once. Below, a small, greasy fire burns on the water. Debris. Nothing more. One less barge, one less machine gun, 30 fewer Japanese soldiers. It is not glorious. It is pest control. "Radar, what's next?" Hawk asks, leveling the wings. "Reloading the nose turret," the gunner reports. "Got another target, Skipper. Looks like two more, same heading, 5 miles north." Hawk sighs, pushing the throttles forward. "Roger. Taking them." This is the job. They will do this 3, 4, 5 times anew. They will fly back to the Curtis, rearm, refuel, and fly back out on the same night. This is the war of attrition, and the Black Cats are strangling the Imperial Japanese Army, one barge at a time. April 10th, 1943. So 3:20 hours. Kula Gulf, the slot. Lieutenant Stan Ski Kowalski, now a veteran commander of P4, feels the change. The hunt is no longer a one-sided slaughter. The Japanese are adapting. They are getting smarter. The easy targets, the lone, fat transports, and the strings of barges are gone. Now they hug the coastlines, hiding in the radar clutter of the jungle-covered islands, and they are fighting back. "Skipper," the radar operator calls out, his voice thin with static. "Contact, but it's faint. And high, bearing 030, range 6 miles, moving fast. This isn't a barge." Kowalski's hands tighten on the yoke. "How high?" "Can't tell. But it's an air target, Skipper. It's coming for us." Before the blister gunner can even shout a warning, the night rips open. A stream of brilliant 20mm cannon shells, glowing like orange golf balls, flashes past Kowalski's windscreen, so close he can feel the heat. A high-pitched zip, zip, zip sound, followed by the bang, bang, bang as shells find the PBY's tail. "Bandit, starboard side high," the blister gunner screams. "It's a roof! It's the A6M2N roof, a Mitsubishi Zero bolted onto a massive central float. It's a true fighter, agile and heavily armed, designed specifically to intercept them. The Japanese are no longer waiting on the water, they are hunting the hunters." "Dive! Dive to the deck!" Kowalski yells, shoving the PBY into a stomach-churning descent. The flying bathtub groans, its airframe never designed for this. The Rufa is on them in seconds, its 7.7mm guns stitching a line of holes up the PBY's broad black back. Kowalski is ruddering wildly, skidding the massive plane left and right, trying to give his 50 caliber gunners a shot, but the PBY is an anvil. The roof is a scalpel. "Starboard engines hit. It's on fire," the co-pilot shouts, his voice cracking. Black smoke fills the cockpit. The same terrifying smoke Kowalski remembers from that day off Guadalcanal. He is a victim again, but this time, there is no cloud to hide in, only the dark water 200 feet below. "Prepare for ditching." Prepare for ditching. The roof pilot, confident in the kill, sweeps in for a final belly-up pass. But the Black Cat's gunners are not dead. The ventral tunnel gunner, lying on his stomach, and the starboard blister gunner both open up at point-blank range. Their 50 caliber tracers pour into the roof's belly and engine. The Japanese fighter, trailing smoke, breaks off the attack and vanishes. But the PBY is dying. The starboard engine is a torch, the fire eating through the wing. Hold her steady! Kowalski fights the controls, the plane trying to roll over from the dead engine. 100 feet! 50! Cut power! They hit the water of the Kula Gulf with a catastrophic, tearing screech of metal. The impact throws Kowalski against his harness, splitting his forehead open. Water floods the cockpit. Out! Everybody out! Get the rafts! The crew scrambles onto the burning wing, inflating the yellow life rafts. They paddle furiously away as P4, their black-painted ghost, burns and sinks into the slot. They are alive, but their weapon is gone. The Black Cats are still the apex predator of the night, but the Japanese have finally grown claws of their own. July 12th, 1943. Stowanwar Hours, Munda Point, New Georgia. First Class Seaman Kaito. Tanaka huddles in a foxhole filled with 6 inches of black, foul-smelling water. He is shaking. It is not from fear of the American Marines, who are dug in only 500 yards away. It is from malaria. His rifle, an Arisaka Type 38, is covered in rust. He has 3 rounds left. He has not eaten anything but coconut and boiled ferns in 2 days. Every man in his platoon is the same, skeletal, covered in jungle ulcers, their uniforms rotting off their bodies. The mighty Imperial Army is being devoured by insects and starvation. Why? Because the barges are no longer coming. Kaito lifts his head. He hears it, the sound that haunts his sleep. The irregular, stuttering thrum-thrum, thrum of the Yoru no Neko, the night cat. He prays it will pass, but it doesn't. It circles, unseen, a vulture in the dark. Aboard P-11, Lieutenant Hawk Hawkins is at the controls. His squadron, VP-54, has perfected the art. They no longer hunt for random barges. They have specific interdiction targets. Radar's got 'em, the operator says, his voice flat. 4 pips, holding stationary in the cove. Just like Intel said, they're trying to unload. But Hawk is scanning the sky, his eyes flicking to the radar. The loss of Kowalski's plane has changed everything. Air cover? I got a fast mover, the operator replies. A roof 8 miles east, circling. He's protecting them. The trap is set. The barges are the bait. The roof is the hook. The Japanese are forcing the Black Cats to choose: attack the barges and be ambushed by the fighter, or fly away. We're not playing his game, Hawk says. He swings the heavy PBY away from the cove toward the island's jungle-covered spine. Skipper, the target is east, the co-pilot says, confused. We're taking the long way. Hawk pushes the throttles. The PBY claws for altitude, 500 feet, 1,000, 2,500. He is flying over. The 1,200-foot ridge, a maneuver no sane flying boat pilot would ever attempt at night. The air is dangerously thin. They skim the treetops, the dark, wet leaves of the banyan trees seeming to brush the hull. They clear the ridge. Below them now is the cove. The roofie is still circling to the east, waiting for an attack from the sea. He has no idea the Black Cat is already above him, landside. Nose down, Hawk orders. Flares, bombs, go. The PBY plunges from the sky, engines screaming. The flares ignite, catching the Japanese in the act. The 4 barges, packed with ammunition crates and rice bags, are fully illuminated. The roof pilot, caught completely by surprise, banks wildly, but he is too far away. The bombs are away. The Black Cat drops 2 500-pounders and a daisy cutter. The explosions are catastrophic, a chain reaction of fuel and ammunition that lights up the cove like a volcano. In his foxhole, Kaito Tanaka watches the sky turn brilliant orange. He feels the ground shake. He knows, with a cold, hollow certainty, that the rice is gone. The ammunition is gone. They have been cut off. The thrum fades. The black cats have done their work. They have adapted. They have strangled the Tokyo Express, not with a single blow, but with 1,000 nightly cuts. The flying bathtub, the daylight joke, has become the single most decisive, most feared, and most relentless weapon in the Solomon Islands.